We'll come back to you with the more questions and during the discussion. So be with us, Professor Jaideep. Now would like to request Mr. Norman Christopher. I think we have, he is the Executive Director of Office of Sustainability Practices, Principal at Sustainable Business Practices LLC USA. I think we are going to hear the video message. Seven. Okay, please.
One second.
Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity from Dr. Kumar to share a few perspectives about sustainability and circularity with you this afternoon. My opening comments come from an article written by Kokrajhar in January of this year entitled "The Circular Economy in India, All You Need to Know." He described why don't companies in India fully embrace circularity. Here are some of the reasons he found. Unclear vision and mission or purpose. Business and its partners already have many pre-existing habits and behaviors. Supply chain limitations make execution difficult. Also, we just don't have enough resources. Access to capital is a concern. So our lack of targets and benchmarks for measurement. Inadequate returns are probable because circularity seems to be a costly process to implement. Product quality concerns arise. A lack of expertise is also present because this is a new process with few experiences. And we have undefined cost structures that make performance difficult. And finally, there is great ambiguity about how the circular economy will actually work in the future. Well, it's well recognized that India needs a circular economy development model to optimize resource use and efficiencies and reduce resource dependency that everyone can embrace and accept. Given the issues and barriers, how can sustainability best practices advance circularity? First, let's look at cost structures. First, you can shift cost structures now to address total cost accounting and total cost of ownership. This can be seen with environmental footprints that take into account the entirety of ecological impact on the planet. Life cycle analysis enables us to determine these costs, but costs can also be calculated for reuse and remanufacture that help alleviate these cost burdens. Next, you can identify all tangible and intangible hidden costs, such as regulatory, upfront, conventional, back-end, contingent, brand, image, and relationship hidden costs. LCA, again, can also assess these costs that can be developed to help reduce, minimize, or actually eliminate some of these costs with sustainability best practices. We all have a tendency to overlook these hidden costs. Next, we can quantify higher risks and liabilities that cost money, such as with many areas of risk today besides environmental, such as supply chain, product and technology, physical, reputational, compliance, social, and strategic. Risk and liabilities can create significant unforeseen expenditures. Many of these costs are intangible and go beyond what we normally see, such as reputational, social, and strategic risks. By going through a thorough cost analysis, sustainability best practices can help offset the total cost of ownership, hidden costs, risks, and liabilities to improve a positive triple bottom line performance. Next, how can sustainability improve returns? Well, first, I think we can use established sustainability protocols, processes, standards, and certifications, such as life cycle analysis, design for the environment, ISO standards, sustainability accounting standards board guidelines, B Corp certification, and many others to enhance performance. We have an excellent toolbox to work with. Next, we can monitor and report with the best quantifiable and qualifiable sustainability metrics. These include impact measurements such as the Global Reporting Initiative and the Climate Disclosure Project. We can consider also today using environmental social governance, or what is known as ESG reporting framework. This framework is being driven by transparency by all stakeholders. It addresses corporate social responsibility, and it's noted today that ESG investments are expected to reach $53 trillion by 2025 worldwide. We can also determine the full environmental, social, and economic impact and value creation for the work we do. Many times we only focus on environmental performance and do not look at collective shared value or economic and social impact as well. Next, we can sort of consider using a practice with economic impact dollars as a key metric. I think economic impact is probably one of the best measurements that you can use for financial returns that cover both public and private sectors. I look back on some work I did at Grand Valley State University. We were using many returns, cost savings across a number of sustainability areas like education, purchasing, facilities, health and wellness, buildings, land use, and many others. We decided to convert all that work to one metric, economic impact. And we determined that in 1 year, we had generated over $200 million worth of annual impact for our sustainability efforts. One example is the creation of jobs. And finally, I think we can reinvest our sustainability savings to sustain sustainability. This will alleviate budget constraints and concerns. At Grand Valley, our facilities department was able to develop a green fund that totaled approximately $3 million that was used for future capital work. And finally, I think we can develop social, environmental, and sustainability returns for our investments. How do you do that? You can calculate your total costs across supply chain, including capital investments, operating expenditures, and regulatory experiences. Next, you can determine your total benefits, including revenue generated, cost savings, costs avoided, grants, and subsidies. Then you can calculate your sustainability, environmental, or social net benefits, or ROI. And finally, how can sustainability improve access to capital? Well, I find it fascinating that we always go to financial sources of capital first. It's always where the money is that counts. We do not necessarily look at the other available sustainability sources of capital and resources that will help our sustainability projects succeed. If we look first at economic capital, we of course can determine financial sources, but we also have manufactured, shared, and material sources of economic capital to work with as well. Next, we can look at environmental capital, which is well known. We have natural capital sources such as renewability with sun, wind, and hydro. We also have living environmental capital. Biomimicry today designs many of our products for tomorrow. And then we have this area of social capital, which I think is probably one of the most underused and untapped sources of capital for a sustainability project. It's where our knowledge, experiences, skill sets, passion, and values lie. And it cuts across human, intellectual, relationship, advocacy, experience, and spiritual capital sources. And finally, there's place-based capital. Some may even think this expands the triple bottom line to the fourth leg of the triple bottom line. All organizations need to look at areas where they operate, and this is the places where they are. To obtain full benefits of sustainability, we must draw upon local community and cultural capital sources as well. So, how do we look at and improve the value of sustainability and circularity? I posit we take a new approach using the iceberg balance sheet. This is a visual approach to look at improving the value. The premise is true value of a company or a business can be viewed like an iceberg. You can probably only see approximately 30% of that value. There are approximately 70% of the value that's hidden or under the surface. It's determined by what you can't see or the intangibles like knowledge, experiences, but also hidden costs, risks, liabilities, reputation, and brand image. The key is how do we improve the value of what we don't see with sustainability best practices? There are 4 intangible value areas to address that can do this. The first of which is sustainable governance. We can establish sustainable governance best practices to ensure the successful strategy and execution of our work. Secondly, we can increase the eco and social value of what we do through sustainability protocols, processes, and standards and certifications that will all improve our efficiencies and reduce our risks. We can look at human capital and social capital sources that are untapped, as mentioned. These include innovation capacity, knowledge and development, as well as dissemination. And fourth, there's this last area of stakeholder resources. These cut across regulators, policymakers, nonprofits, customers, alliance partners, and supply chain partners. These all will help fill the gaps of what we need. So thank you, everyone. I wish you the best on both your sustainability and circular economy journey. And a copy of these slides for follow-up has been forwarded to Dr. Kumar if anyone is interested. Again, I wish you all the best.
Yes, thanks, Norman, for a very enlightening address. But, you have emphasized very much. I think it's a video message, but he has very nicely given emphasis on economic impact. But more important, what I have a bit more further perspective that considering economic impact, we have to take into account the health as well as the ecological impact. Imbalance impact is also very important because so far we are always, I mean to say, for last many decades we were very much going into the audit of in economical audit, and somehow we have reached to the mess because certain processes and the technologies what we brought in only focusing that where we are going to have economic advantages, and then we led to this. And the plastic is one of the really one of the culprit on it because certain plastic they are very inexpensive. But we always see that the production cradle to gate approach and that's a use up to the service life. But if you're really going to use, Norman has correctly pointed out that we have to see in the perspective of LCA, the life cycle assessment of the process and product, and that is really very important. Some of the plastics, for example, the biodegradable plastic, though we consider that it's inexpensive process because we always think on cradle to gate approach, but if you're really going to see cradle to cradle approach, we will find that these so-called expensive materials are really a sustainable materials. So somehow I think it's more or less perspective way because conventional material sometimes considered as a sustainable material because it lasts long, but sometimes it's beyond our capabilities and we could not able to manage effectively. So there are many factors associated to it. We will certainly discuss after this. Thank you, Norman, and I'm going to now invite Ms. Thara Kokrajhar. Madam is a partner and principal designer, Studio Alternative Pune, and ma'am, please elaborate a bit more about your organization and enlighten us with circularity and sustainability. Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Mic on करके.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you, Mobius Foundation, for inviting us here in this very prestigious conference. And Shravan, also, thank you very much for connecting with me and getting us here. I would like to start with introducing ourselves, what we do. So, We are from Studio Alternatives Pune, and our work, I think, is all about one sentence that everything can become something else. The past 10 years, we've been focusing completely on this subject and doing a lot of experimental work. Our business is also highly experimental in the sense that we don't know whether we will make money or we are making money, which our business should make. This is our team. So it's me and Sonali here, two of us, and we have around 8 to 10 skilled persons who work with us as an in-house team. They are from carpenters to painters to welder, but they are ready to work with any sorts of discarded material, including Thai, who like take care of us and stitches beautiful fabric out of discarded material. Shortly about where we are located. We are located in a army village near Pune. And this is our studio, which is kind of a shed, which is made with 90% plus reclaimed material. And this is how we are, so from tiles to windows to containers to any furniture or lampshades you see is the second life. Also, a very important strength that we feel we have is our great connect to the village where we are located, with like a lot of education programs to interaction and barter system, where we get food and like fertilizers, and we repair things for farmers around us. Another major thing that we have is ability to collect discarded materials, connect with rat pickers and scrap dealers who are around us as well as now all over Pune city, and discard, basically sort them, wash them, clean them, and use it as a resource materials in our studio. Also, our high, inquiry into experiment. We feel anything that is discarded, but people feel that this is not going to be possible to do anything about, like scrap, very small piece of metal scrap, can become a jolly or a grill or something if one works towards it. Last but not least, we believe that detailing and quality of anything that we create out of discarded material should be at par with the new products, and it should not look or seem like it is made from scrap, and so the people who are using it are inspired to use what we create. So the example is the pipe, sewage pipes discarded, or remains from the construction site to the pipeline series of lamps that we have designed. I'm just going to go very fast. There are a lot of visuals because this is a concept which is upcycling, which is generally considered as a DIY concept. People try and create smaller craft, but we are trying to say that with consistent efforts and experimentation, one can go into various materials, and it's possible. So I'm putting like a lot of slides with various materials that past 10 years we have worked with, starting from foil wrappers to small chindi, coconut shells. And these are the experiments that we have worked. Sometimes it is just for our inquiry, or sometimes it is made for a project, which are kind of a commercial project. Plywood laminates. I come from interior design background, so a lot of materials you will find initially is kind of materials that are discarded from design and architecture projects. But after a certain time, last 5-7 years, we have worked with any sorts of discarded materials. We have also done projects where we work with corporates and use their own discarded materials and give them a kind of a product back to use. For example, the bottom picture is from Mercedes factory in Jharkhand. So they gave tires, drums, pallet wood, and glass, and only added was a slightly new material of MS sections to create the whole garden furniture for their all over factory. We do experiment. We get materials in numbers to create solutions, because that is one of the area which requires to use numbers when it comes to scrap. Some of the one-timer projects as well, furniture, so like old furniture, broken furniture into completely new, especially in furniture, the life can be extended really, really long, because the material potential is really high, but only look and feel is gone, which can be put back. And the chair, you see the red chair, was discarded and was going to be used as a firewood, where we have been using this red chest for 13 years now in our studio. So it has a life if we kind of take care and we work on it. So there will be quite a bit, but also we have worked with some materials like which have the antique value and convert them into a usable objects. Another example, like getting into a scalable example in terms of large scale product, the boat which was a single wood carved boat which was going to be used as a firewood can be retrieved, restored and used as a completely different purpose as a restaurant boarding for seafood restaurant, and it was there for I think 5 years plus as that hoarding before again maybe it went back in the system. A lot of interior elements, being interior designers, wall covering completely from packaging of the same company and newspaper, various furniture again, and also taking projects which are completely focused on theme of creative reuse or upcycling, where around 85% material is reclaimed for this restaurant interiors. So this is what we have been doing, and it's in short, the definition is very clear, I mean simple, that we process to any discarded material, we add value by adding either material or the creativity and make it a better value product, which also extend the life of that particular material or product. And in the circularity circle or a spiral object, I mean, of course, everybody knows first should be the reduce, whether we reduce consumption or reduce material use while we create. Second has to be reuse, which is a normal use. Mentioned that in every Indian household we used to use things, but before that, even before Jugaad, there's something like we buy second-hand books, we buy second-hand computer cards, everything. It should be promoted where it's looked upon as a commercially restricted activity. I will buy second-hand book only because I don't have money to buy a new one. So it's always looked down, where somehow reuse has to come up as a good activity. If book is good, I should be reading the second-hand book instead of buying new, even if I have money. Same goes for other objects as well. So reuse in a traditional form. Second comes like we should repair and refurbish. India, we also already had a lot of practices of repair and refurbish. We used to, sharpen the knife and we used to like re-fluff the cotton mattresses, and those kind of practices were there, which are almost gone, and with the very fast new product coming in, or consumerism, products are also designed not to last long. Like your software will get completely out of date, even your phone is fine or computer is fine. So that repair, refurbish service industry has gone, which also requires to come back. And we are doing some small initiatives, but I don't know, we are still there or we are doing something like that. And fourth point is upcycle or creative reuse, which we saw a lot of example of. And I think last resource should be the recycling. And when we are talking about education, this circle, we feel that we want to bring back and talk about when we are talking to youngsters. Having said that, currently the work that we are doing, all these products, and as I said, this is an experimental business. There is not enough takers for the work that you saw previously. Only we could survive as a business and still experiment on upcycling because of the projects that we started working with, converting used shipping containers into living spaces. So these are the discarded actual shipping containers for two reasons. But either it has finished its life or they are damaged more than the specific requirement of shipping purpose. And we have been working on projects of various movable spaces, including a lot of like school classrooms, mostly located in the remote places, activity centers for NGO. We have done some technical requirement projects as well. This is a Signal Shala, a school which is for an NGO who is working for rehabilitating kids who are begging at the Thana Pinath next Naga in Mumbai. And the municipality had given them a space under the bridge. So this space was created for them, and it is still in use for past 3-4 years now. And we experiment with a lot of simpler aspects as well. Metal sheet is there, so we had a ladder, snake and ladder game with the metal. Some majority work is of course for the farmhouses. The houses are movable, they are relocatable. So first time we can think of having a house and not owning a land. Another area in a sustainable factor, but I mean not right now what I'm talking today. But this house is moved 4 times. It is designed with a modularity concept. So it was on location one with certain three-way containers differently, and then we moved it differently. So kind of looking at possibilities and actual live example what we can do with movable spaces. And also afterlife of these containers, when we compare with the traditional structure, after 25-30 years or whatever the life, instead of debris, these containers can go back in the system. We are also working with some detailing, like these are the discarded material, again going back to the work that we do. So these are all objects which are in a very bad condition, but they can be put together to create a very pleasing aesthetic home. And this is the same house which has moved 4 times from 2016. This is our in-house project. Also afterlife, we are working on detailing where we reduce the use of like chemicals or chemical joints to mechanical joints, so that afterlife we can easily dismantle. For majorly, let's say example of insulation which is always stuck to the metal. Instead of that, we figure out the way, so when things are taken apart and somebody wants to recycle things, it's easier and it's designed for disassembly. These are some of the projects. So up till now, we have repurposed around 70 plus container into 25 plus projects. This is how some of the interiors would look. So of course, all the projects are not completely upcycled, because the commercials, the clients are not always ready. But we try to put at least like 10% to start with, and more whenever somebody is ready for it. But we try to use materials which are more close to our sustainable areas, like use real stone, and better lighting, better LEDs, and products which have green certification and stuff like that. Now I'll just come back to another area which we think that whenever we talk about creative use in mainstream, what are the obstacles, whether this business is replicable, and can other people take the same path. So there are some challenges which has come up in our conclusions, is limited scrap coming in, because people don't throw things in a one bunch. It's thrown in a small pieces, they get lost. And that's where we feel that system to collect should be worked upon. Also, people need to learn how to throw. Basically, how to throw, what are the behavioral changes, and create general understanding and economics of upcycling, where these products cost, because there's a kind of labor intensive projects. Also taxation, which I wanted to bring in, that compared to regular building, this kind of construction is really there should be some promotional or subsidized or some sort of how do I say, acknowledgement to the projects which are sustainable or circular approach. We are currently working with awareness and regular education, where we have installed a scrap library to the school with the 50 materials, where kids can use those materials as their in their project as a new resources. And we have been doing a lot of workshops for awareness, and also upcycling learning workshop with various groups as well as design colleges. But we are now looking at making it like a proper, this was on and off. Whenever we were called, we do design workshops and take with that particular group. But now we are looking at formalizing it and having a consistent place where we can have a lot of hands-on workshop, because we believe learning can have an impact if you actually do it yourself. If you have seen it, it's one impact. If you have done it yourself, it will remain with you for a longer time and you will know about it. So these are way forward for us in last. Like make the modules which are know what you throw and learn how to discard, hands-on learning, and scrap libraries, and also do DIY kits. And we intend to do this with, why we are here is to connect and collaborate where we can install this into the main. So this is, I hope I was on time.
That's what we all are assembled here to see this, what you are doing it exactly to build the sustainability and circularity. It's nice to brilliant, and more importantly that the option you have shown how
Mic
to
on.
delay the end of life.
Yeah.
How to delay the end of life option before bringing to the I mean to say end of the life option. Now more importantly, madam, because this way we could able to reduce the consumption of the resources what we have. So that perspective, it's really the great initiative what we are taking. We'll be having a discussion afterwards. So now I would like to invite the next speaker. Next speaker is Mr. Harry Lee. He's the founder of the Asia Circular Economy Association, and he is with us in a virtual mode. Mr. Lee, now the floor is open. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Porter Boch, for inviting me to this conference. It's a very good opportunity, and I'm sorry and I cannot come in person. So my name is Harry Lee. I'm a founder of the Asia Circular Economy Association. So today I will talking about this title, Sustainability with Circularity. So I heard the previous presentations and very exciting. So I hope that my presentation will give you more simpler ideas about how the triple bottom line will be affected by the concept of circular economy. So I'll briefly introduce my association and the concept of circular economy first, because I think everybody knows the basic concept, so I do not go into very deep. So afterwards, I will talk about the relationship between the circular economy and the triple bottom line, which is very at the beginning of my career in circular economy is a very challenging question for me, because there's a lot of people talking about why we need to use circular economy to do things. So today I'll give a good simpler differentiation for that, and finally I'll talk about some little cases and green jobs about the circularity in Hong Kong. Okay. So the vision of our association is to provide the knowledge to the stakeholders, everybody. I mean, industries, NGOs, communities, so that they can apply circular economy in their daily lives. And the missions, they are the missions: create a knowledge hub, try to establish a communication network, and develop circular, other than industry, we develop innovative communities and cities. And finally, we will relate circular economy with other major topics, which we were talking now about, such as climate change, such as sustainability, and even ESG. We talked about in the previous presentation, how ESG can help the circular economy also. So these are the tech activities. I don't want to go into too deep. We have seminars. We try to organize field trips in the future. We connect with universities for research and competitions. We organize workshops, and also finally we hope to communicate with governments in Hong Kong, China, or even Asia, other parts of Asia, to investigate how circular economy can be implemented. Okay. So what is circular economy? In fact, there's a video, but I don't want to broadcast this because it's very simple, just educational things for normal people. But in this conference, I don't want to waste the time. Okay. So there are three major principles of circular economy. So the first one is to design out the waste and solutions. So it's performed as a design stage and manufacturing stage. At the beginning of the value chain, we try to design the waste so that we can use renewable energies, we can use recyclable materials, and do not pollute the atmosphere at the end of the cycles. So this is the first one. The second one is to keep the products material in use. So we establish some maintenance, repair, or refurnish, remanufacture the materials while this is the second one. And the third one is the regenerate the natural system. So we don't want to just use the material and then throw it away. So we try to regenerate so that the natural system will be preserved for the future generations so that they can sustain sustainability. Okay. So this is the famous diagram by the Alan MacArthur Foundation in UK. This is the first, one of the first foundation organizations to promote circular economy. They have a butterfly diagram which shows how circular economy is should be established. So there's two cycles. One on this right-hand side is the technical cycle. It's more for the products, how to recycle the products. And the left-hand side is the natural cycles. So how to maybe a regenerative farming, making of biogas, and also the other mechanisms such as photosynthesis, the recycling of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay. So now we talk about the triple bottom line. So the first is circular economy actually is more is the famous for its economical side of the theory. So it's a profit side. How do we make profit in circular economy? Rather than now we mostly use the linear economy, like the previous speaker said, we're using a lot of linear economy. So we have a makes, use, and dispose mechanism so that when you make a product out of the resource and using the energy to make the product, we use it and then we just dispose it as waste to the landfill, something like that. So if we continue to use this practice, there are a lot of wastage. Okay, so there are waste resources, waste life cycle, waste capability, and also embedded values. So the effect will be that we will lose a lot of money. Okay, 4.5 trillion, and also by 2030, and also 25 trillion in 20 years, 30 years later. So there's a lot of money wasted. Opportunity, we can say that, because if we can use circular economy practice to do this, we can have this money to earn. So what's the wastage? There are four kind of wastage. One is the wasted resources. So the waste resources, that energy we redesign or manufacturing the product, we lost those values, such as we do not use renewable energies to produce the products, and also we use the materials so that we cannot recycle. I mean, regenerate back to the original shape, original parts in at the end. So this is wasted resource. So wasted capability is that when we do not use the product very much after the product is made, such as the cars. So sometimes you may buy not only one car, 2 cars or 3 cars, but the utilization rate is not very big. So this is waste of capability. And life cycle is that after the use, sometimes some of the products maybe need to be cannot be used. So you need to sometimes most of the people throw it away and buy a new one, like a phone. Sometimes it's out of fashion, so you throw it away and then get a new one without any such as it just only needs 1 or 2 components to make it work again, but you still throw it away and then waste the other components. So it's a waste life cycle. And the final one is embedded value. It's more for the recycling when the product is cannot be used anymore, so you recycle. But we cannot recover the materials there, so it's a recovery. So there's a loss of wastage. These are 4 of the main ones. Okay, this is a value chain. During the value chain, there are some types of wastage. So based on this life cycle and this all wastage, we generate the materials by applying some kinds of business models in those during the life cycle, such as circular inputs. So you use energy or materials that is recyclable or renewable. Sharing platform. You share, maybe you can share your clothing, cars, and appliances with other people, so that they can own. We can utilize the products more. And product as a service. So you don't buy the products now. You kind of loan the products. So the responsibility of the products is still at the manufacturers, and at the end, the manufacturers need to maintain the products at the better rate. So they are more responsible for the quality of the products. So we do not waste a lot of products. So finally, it's a resource recovery, like the recycling. How to recycle, how to sort out the materials and go back to the original page. That okay. Okay, so these are the benefits. Other than the cost, so by using those others business model, we can improve such customer relationship, because you are closer to the manufacturers, are closer to the customers. This business model, such as product as a service, and you can increase partnership opportunity, because we want to recycle your products. So we want to involve more industries, such as logistics and others material partners that can recycle the material back to the original material you want. And finally, you will innovate a lot of innovation to your value chain. So during the life cycle. So secondly, we talk about the planet. When you talk planets nowadays, we mostly talk about climate change. Okay, so climate change not only cause a lot of casualties in people's death, things like that. So it costs a lot of money also.
Mr. Harry, sorry to interrupt. Just request you to be brief.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the effect if we go have a free finish warming in certain areas. So it's very critical. So this is only almost caused by the using the fossil fuel, and then the fossil fuel, because during the 50 years we have a lot of increase. So, and a lot of do not have the sink enough, so we do have problems of carbon dioxide. So I just mentioned just 2 points. One point is that 45% of the greenhouse gas emission can be eliminated if the principle of circular economy to the manufacturing of products. So circular economy can save the planet quite a bit. Okay, I don't want to get into details. Finally, the people is a very difficult part. Okay, because we need to get people's jobs. Sometimes health and refill the users. So for example, in some countries, they put their solar panel. So other than they have jobs, but they also have co-benefits like power and well-being, things like that. So the equality is there. So, but we need to think about how governments can help the marginalized group to get those jobs. Okay. Finally, we have some examples about circular economy in Hong Kong. There's a big waste management company to do recycling and also do some educational jobs. So this one is more about the paper. We use the wastage of paper and then we recycle it back to original. So about food, we have regenerative farming and also the food waste, how to collect the food waste and go back to the people who needs the food. And also the wood cycling, the reef, the ocean. And finally, we have the clothing industry, so we can get the clothing back wasted to get souvenirs, which are innovative ideas. Okay. So this is my presentation. Thank you very much. Sorry about that time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hemingway. This is such a comprehensive deliberation you made. Thank you very much. And now we'll be coming back with a discussion because we are running short of time. So I would like to go with the next presentation, and we'll come back again for the discussion with all the speakers. So our next speaker is Dr. Pranav Patel. So Dr. Pranav is Chief Executive of Global Foundation for Advancement of Environmental and Human Wellness. This foundation is a Delhi-based foundation, but having footprint in United States also. So now floor is open to you, and please elaborate more on your organization.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair, Professor Kokrajhar, and our fellow panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure listening to all the wonderful presentations so far. Very, very interesting insight how it is circularity is taken into consideration and economy is made, circular economy is made the mainstay of our business today. I would be very, very brief and I would be very brief.
Mr. Harry, we request you to please stop the share screen. You are sharing your screen at present, so please unshare the screen, the presentation which you are.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, I can continue. Yes. So I'll be very brief and thank you for the introduction, sir. I work with an organization called Global Foundation for Advancement of Environment. In fact, our chair and founder, Professor Ashok, was also supposed to be here. He is based in Michigan, but he couldn't make it for some other commitments. And Norm Christopher, who you've already listened to, he also happens to be one of our international advisors of the foundation. I would, while talking about circularity and sustainability and circularity, I would rather try to, instead of going into the depth of it, I would probably share a few examples of how we are bringing into practice through our interventions and projects across India. I also happen to be part of the International Council for Circular Economy as a mentor. So that's another link that I have with circular economy. Well, Professor Jaideep also mentioned that how India's ethos and culture is intricately linked to the practice of being more resource prudent, and obviously so, being a rich country in our cultural heritage, we had a different legacy altogether. But unfortunately, we see a deterioration in terms of our value system, and also we are distancing from that model of circularity to a more linear model now. I mean, we have literally become a linear society in terms of how we deal with our day-to-day lives, not just our gadgets, but otherwise also. People like mentioned that, and I'm glad that we have initiatives like Hara mentioned, to take care of what is left over, what is not being used, what is being thrown away from our houses. So that gives us an opportunity also. I keep citing a very popular quote of by Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel is an American career politician, and who also happened to be the chair of Chicago, and went on to become the chief of staff in White House during Barack Obama's first tenure. He always said, "You should never let a crisis go to waste." And if we are talking about environmental crisis today, then if it is, we should consider it as an opportunity to bring about the change, bring in more innovations. And I really liked the way Professor Jaideep Datta ended. He said, the electric light is not an invention coming out of our improvisation on the candles. Yeah. So we need that kind of breakthrough innovations to be able to overcome the challenges. So now coming to the work of Global Foundation, how we are putting circularity in action. We work on 3 verticals: climate action, water resources conservation, and food and nutrition. And along these 3 verticals, we are trying to do a little bit. The reason I'm saying do a bit because Global Foundation is a fairly younger and smaller organization as compared to the biggies of the world. So when we say climate action, we are emphasizing a lot on using low carbon energy devices for cooking and heating. And these devices are being made, I mean, unlike your conventional model where it is procured from a manufacturer and give it to the beneficiaries, we are training the local community members and youth to manufacture these devices locally with locally available resource materials. And so when they get dismantled or become obsolete or non-functional, they can repair themselves, or probably put the same material back to use to create another one. So that is a very simple model that we are trying to do, both in terms of cook stove as well as heating devices, especially in the mountains. And we were working in collaboration with Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore on this. They have a center called Center for Sustainable Technology. So we kind of using their knowledge to bring it to the community level. So, and then coming to the water resources, and something I'm sure Professor Jaideep would also appreciate. We have a work very focused on rainwater harvesting for aquifer recharge, as well as restoration of water bodies. And for restoration of water bodies, we are using a very fruitful and economic technology called, it's called very popularly known as constructed wetland. It's a phytorene based low carbon, horizontal flow, constructed wetland where sewage water is getting treated. So it is a kind of a low cost alternative to your conventional sewage treatment plant. Of course, this has its limitations because it's natural, but it doesn't require electricity. So when we are restoring a water body, one of the biggest challenges that we have in this process is this: if the water from where it is coming, if it is already polluted, no matter what you do with the water body, whether you restore it, regenerate it, they will go back to the same state in another 6 months' time. So we are trying to ensure the water that is coming from, especially the domestic sewage. Of course, we are not dealing with industrial sewage here. Domestic sewage is being treated through this constructed wetland methodology, so that the water that we put into the pond is purified, kind of purified. It's not, of course, drinkable, but yeah, it's usable for other purposes, including for cattle and to take, drink and bathe, and for fishery purposes, and so on and so forth. The third one is vertical that we are working on, and coincidentally, Professor Kokrajhar would also appreciate. We are working with a startup incubated in IIT Guwahati. So they have patented a technology to fortify the D vitamin content of mushrooms. Yes. So mushroom is, in any case, naturally, it has a D vitamin. It is, other than human beings, mushroom is the only other living organism which has the capacity to absorb D vitamin from the sunlight, other than human beings. There are only 2 living elements which has this capacity. So mushrooms, we are deploying this technology so that the D vitamin content can be enhanced up to 100 times. And of course, this for obvious reasons of helping people who are suffering from, mostly India has a large population, growing population of D vitamin deficient younger people now. So of course, by consuming this, you don't need to pop a pill, and plus helping the communities with livelihood, additional income, because it's a premium product. But the raw material which is required to grow mushroom, it's again your agriculture waste. Yeah. Spores are grown on the base. The base is made of agriculture waste. So that's so we are using waste material that way. And the cooking device also, that is actually specially designed to use biomass, and not just any other biomass, but agriculture biomass for the cooking purpose. And it's an efficient model, and it's a low carbon, smokeless cook stove. So these are few examples how we are trying to do a bit to bring circularity in action, and that's what I wanted to share. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pranav, for timely finishing and nicely elaborated deliberations. Thank you very much. So, as you have mentioned that you are working on mushroom with IIT Guwahati, it was really to whom? Yes. Very good. So, very nice that you brought in the biomass utilizations, and that is also a very important component for bringing the circularity into it and closing the loop, in fact, but only thing is that incinerating a biomass may cause another. So, thank you very much. So now it's.
So we had a nice deliberations from distinguished speakers like Professor Joydeep Datta, who emphasized on self-life mechanism of utilizing self-life procedures for pineapple and wastage and the water recycling, water purification process in which wastage is less than 20%. So starting from the material sciences, what Professor Joydeep Datta has discussed, then the Norman Christopher, the business model and the cost involved in it, how to implement the circular economy and how profitable it is going to happen. Then moving to the upcycling process given by Ms. Dhara Kavadia, and then a lot of work being done by the Global Foundation. Now it will be my privilege, and I request that Professor Vimal Katiyarji to deliberate upon the other aspects of circularity.
Yeah, thanks, Sarwan. I'm a bit happy that most of the speakers have covered most of the component and say related to the sustainability and circularity. So this is an advantage I have taken it by giving my talk at the end. So can you share my presentation? So so I'm going to discuss. Please come. So I would like to brief you about myself. Basically, my research are very much focused on biodegradable plastics. And so today I'm going to talk the perspective of sustainability with circularity, mostly on a plastic perspective. But before going ahead, I would like to mention you that IIT Guwahati is pioneer in working in the areas, especially on sustainable environments, sustainable energy, environment, and materials. Here, one of the component is the sustainable polymers. We, for last 20 years, I'm working on the biodegradable plastics, and we established a couple of centers, like Center for Sustainable Polymers, which is funded by Ministry of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, the Joint Center for Excellence for Biofuels and Biocommodities, funded by Department of Biotechnology. Not only this, we have also established a center funded by the industry, which is again goes to the excellence for sustainable materials. We are coming up with the Center for Sustainable Toys, and also the Center for this CRTDS that has been funded by the DSIR. So you can see in all the cases, our basic intention is that how to develop, how to utilize a bio-based feedstock, and how to brought it into the ecological cycle. And we are the first institute in the country who have started a PhD program, especially on bio-based and biodegradable plastic. The PhD and a master's program in this particular area. So I would like to brief what I understood about when we talk about the imbalance of the ecosystem. I understand that the way in thermodynamics we talk about the system and surrounding, similarly here we understood that the two parties, one is the nature, who are always blessed us with to regenerating the waste what we are producing producing us by the humans. So it means one is the human who are producing a waste, and the earth who is generating the waste what we are producing. But the situation is going to be alarm as per the projection that by 2050 we will be going to need 3 earth space in order to regenerate the waste what we are producing. Here we are really going to think, and that's what all the actions are basically going on in order to bring the status what we were there in a couple of, I will say, in the last century. So when I need to say the speakers have already discussed about the circularity. Though in the ancient time, if you're really going to see, when we do not have a synthetic industry, we were very much into the bio-based feedstock-based our life day-to-day life interventions, and there was a circularity. But now, because of this synthetic and more economic word has come, which really tells us that go to the linear economy rather circular. But anyway, now we are debating it this. When we talk about the linear economy, we always talk about utilize the resources, make the useful product, and use it for your purpose and throw it out. That is not really going to work so far, because in all perspective, whether we talk in terms of the economic, if we talk about the health, if we talk about our ecology, this is not going to work at all. We have to come up with a circular economy, but circular economy where we could able to reach, as Madam has already spoken, that the resources what we have, it has to be before reaching into the end of life. We have to. I'm sorry, I'm using the word exploitation, but we have to exploit the resources as best as possible before bringing to the end of the life options. So that is what the way. There are many ways to recycle, to reuse, refurbish, recycle. all the our options can be explored depending on where we need, and before sending back to the nature. And we have to see that what exactly we are sending back to the nature. Whether we have drawn from the nature, if we have taken it from the nature, then the way we have taken, we have to send it back. So that will be that is our responsibility. And certainly when we are really going to talk about the life cycle or circular economy, we have to talk the economy also in the similar fashion, not the way we are experiencing the linear economy model. Because when we talk about the linear economy, certainly we will talk about the cradle to gate approach that may not be useful here. So if you're really going to see the benefit of the circular economy, that is going to help, it's going to open a various, interventions that I'm not going to detail because of limited of time, and that this particular after this particular chart has already been explained, that one way is we are really increasing the efficiency of the producers before sending back to the nature, and other the life cycle, biological cycle is also very important. So frankly speaking, we have a fossil fuel and we have the renewable feedstock. Certainly there is an advantage associated to utilizing a renewable feedstock. If we can bring it back to the nature in a similar fashion, certainly it's going to be a good loop where we can close without bringing much into the carbon footprint to the atmosphere. When I talk about, I'm sorry, I'm just skipping some of the slides. Okay, so let's the same we'll be discussing in terms of the plastics. Frankly speaking, we in the day-to-day life we are using a plastic, but certainly we cannot live without the plastic. I'm sorry to say, but it's a frank opinion, and we are also admitting this. But however, we have to come up with the new solutions in case of the plastic. So what exactly I'm going to tell you here, that we all understood that the current plastic, there are very many ways has been promoted for utilization of the plastic, but we have to understand that we should not trap it into another problem. Yesterday I was discussing with some friends the fact that now we are trying to do it many interventions in order to utilize the plastic before sending back to the end of life. Number one, like these days we are making a bricks and all. So it was good that we are fixing a plastics and making a bricks, but there are another problems we are creating if we are making a road. Then certainly under the abrasion we are going to come up with the microplastics, and that's going to be airborne particle, and that will lead to be a significant health hazard to the humans, and nobody is scared. People are just trying that how to fix it, and if it is not seen in naked eyes, it's not there, which is not true. I think we have to find a solution which has to be economic, not only the economically viable, but also it has to be, with a health perspective, it should be a non-toxic, and they should not create a health hazard. So situations are like this. We understand about the plastics. We are trying to use all these plastics, but before that, we have to understand that which class of a material we are utilizing. We understand that most of the plastics used to come from the fossil feedstock, and if you're really going to see the fossil feedstock cycle, that's going to be a million-year cycle. It means if you are digging it out, the fossil resources, transforming into the petrochemical product, subsequently a plastic, what exactly we are doing within 2 months, 2 days time, 2 months time, we are utilizing this product and bringing this product to the atmosphere. The best practice people have adopted that to incinerate these plastic. They say that, okay, we are incinerating, then what are we doing it? We are bringing a carbon footprint in the form of carbon dioxide. That's what we understood. But then we realize if we are going to be going from a biofeedstock route or renewable feedstock route, that cycle is very short. So frankly speaking, we'll come up with a shorter cycle, the carbon cycle, if you are really going to the bio feedstock. That is one intervention when we talk about the beginning of life, and other options is the end of the life. If we really going to brought these chemicals into the, again back to the natural cycle, that will be really good. So some of the plastics, they are already known for from fossil-based plastic as well as renewable-based plastic. So generally now the terminology has come bio-based plastic, bio-based chemicals. Those chemicals derived from the renewable feedstock, and it's having an added advantage because the carbon footprint, when we talk about the shorter carbon cycle, here we will get the advantage. However, when we talk about the degradable chemicals, we will have another advantage I am going to show you. Like many industries now transforming from fossil-based feedstock to the renewable feedstock-based chemicals, like one of the companies, Braskem in Brazil, they come up with this making of bioethanol, and in India also we are making now started making up 2G ethanol or 1G ethanol. So that will be really a good practice what we are going to adopt. It is not the new practice what we, even though there are many Indian companies who are discussing, who are working on towards the sustainability. What has happened, if we talk about the synthetic and chemicals, really they have come up with the production of even ethanol, thereafter the styrene, butadiene, rubber, all was started with the cyclic, circular mod, I would say, based on the circularity. But what has happened, because of the economy, we wanted an inexpensive material which is coming from other part of the world. We closed that company because the company cannot make the profit, because we are seeing the profit with the perspective cradle to gate. But the time has come, again we came back, and now we have started thinking going from cradle to cradle. And in that way, we would really looking for, if you will see it, the economy, here is the economy, this renewable feedstock based economy will really going to work it. If you're really going to talk where we are going to have advantage in terms of the carbon footprint, you can see fossil based carbon footprint as well, and we compare with the renewable carbon footprint, we are always having an added advantage in of carbon footprint, what we are bringing during the production process. So always the renewable footprint, carbon footprint are lower than compared to the fossil. So that is again an advantage when we are going to the beginning of life option, means feedstock. Many chemicals can be converted from the renewable feedstock rather going to the petrochemical feedstock. And when we, in terms of the plastic, when we talk about the biodegradable plastic, which is the end of life option, exactly the message what I would like to convey, that what we understood, that if a plastic in which the carbon, the 90% of the carbon has to convert into the carbon dioxide in 180 days time, then we consider, then we use this terminology of biodegradable. And when we talk about the biodegradable plastic, I mean that it has to go within 180 days time. Why 180 days time? Because it's going to be a complete cycle of generation and consumption with the whole nature cycle, that may be a 1 year time. So that's what it is really, I mean to say, if you're really going to connect the chemical production and consumption through this cycle, starting from renewable feedstock and ending to the sending back to the nature, that will really going to lead to the sustainability. But in order to reduce the cost of production, we have to bring it the reuse. That it means that the waste of a first process should be if you could bring it in fact a raw material for another process, and if you can increase this chain, certainly we would like to we could able to optimize the utilization of these kind of processes that will bring into the I mean to say bring a quite optimum circularity process. So when we talk about, already it has been discussed, and we are doing at IIT Guwahati a lot in a biodegradable plastics, and all class of biodegradable plastic, whether it's a synthetic bioplastics or the natural plastic. We have a pilot plants also, and we are demonstrating a different product and working with the different industries in order to bring the plastic and the circularity in the sustainability in a plastic product. So here you can see that we have one bamboo project. Here we are utilizing a bamboo as a feedstock and making our synthetic plastics and utilizing this synthetic plastic for the various products. Not only, and after the service life of that service life, like for example, we made a polymer like polylactic acid, polycaprolactone, we could use it for a certain packaging application. After that, this has to be used for a adhesive application, and after the adhesive application, what exactly we are doing? We are utilizing this plastic to coat the fertilizer, coat the urea in order to slow release the urea. So we are not bringing the polymer as it is to the soil. We are just utilizing even that polymer also as a coated urea in order to enhance the carbon nitrogen uptake from 30% to the 60%. That is the government project we are doing it. So in that way we are improving the efficiency of the process as well as the best utilizing the product what we have. So that kind of the circularity in circular model we are working here at IIT Guwahati, and the fact that it is really, we feel it's required, and overall if you are going for a life cycle assessment, it's going to be a very important. Not only when we talk about the producers, if you're really going to see last week certain informations, I mean to say, when we talk about the producers like tomato, potato and all, that is going very well. So yeah, I'm also chair, I should stop myself. So these are you can see the products what we have developed made of whether it's resin and other things. That's what we do it. So this is small discussion on the utilizing the bioplastics or biodegradable plastic, especially bringing out to circularity, though it is not complete talk. With this, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your knowledgeable share of this biodegradable plastic, the involvement of science and technology to for circular economy modality, to bring circular economy modality in many aspects. Like at this stage, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers who have joined from abroad, from Sweden, from Hong Kong, Professor Joydeep Datta, Mr. Harry Lee from Hong Kong, and I would also like to thank Norman Christopher who has shared his video message. And
let's ask if there is any question from the audience. Quick one or two to the speakers.
Yes, if there are any questions you are open to ask, please come up with your question if you have any.
So yeah, please. Come, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. So,
Please go ahead.
yeah. So my question is to Joydeep Datta, sir. So your process is quite efficient in terms of waste generation. But I would still like to ask, how are you approaching the waste? That is, even it's 20% and it's appreciable, but what are you doing after your waste is generated? It's sodium and chloride that are being on electrodes and other residue that you are generating during the process.
Okay, so thank you for asking this question. Essentially, this particular device we had developed to as an alternative to reverse osmosis, because as many of you know, it doesn't use the resources so well. So after you concentrate, of course, you will have sodium chloride back, not only sodium and chlorine. We have been developing in the lab a reverse flow battery. So during discharge, we want to dilute the sodium chloride solution. That's one of the way, and recuperate the energy, because it's after all a capacitor. This is called a blue energy solution. The best way out, I think, concentrates are always a problem in all desalination processes. Okay, best way out is use solar thermal evaporation if you want.
Thank you, sir. So just one more point. So we are talking, it's just a discussion point. We are saying as a principle of circular economy, to product to be as a service. This means we are ensuring extended producer responsibility, right? So why not also bring in the concept of product as a rent? Means that extended customer responsibility. Because when we are talking about producer responsibility, they may open centers to recycle and reuse products. But what if customer is not going there? And what if customer is not taking that responsibility?
Yeah, I mean to say we are always towards the manufacturing side. The customer, they are always whether they would like to go to your product or not. So the benefit of doubt has to be given to the customer rather than manufacturer. And if my manufacturer has produced, then it is there. It is their responsibility. They have to find a customer. The scenario is like this. This is my thought.
Can I put in a comment here? If you look at Sweden, is possibly the most the country in Europe where we recycle most of our plastic bottles. There is a carrot there. Each of our bottles get back some money.
But sir, the Sweden is mostly also in incineration. I think the Sweden is the country who incinerate most of the biomass and the waste. What is your
Yes.
comment on it?
Yes, we do incinerate a lot because we need energy, the heating. It's a cold country.
But at the same time, bringing us, I mean to say, then we have to compromise somewhere, sir. It's fine, sir. Thank you. So, madam, please.
Oh, hello, thank you. Well, I really support the idea of the customer responsibility. Well, my question is about to all speakers from India and Hong Kong. Are you also involved with the recovery and upcycling of ghost nets, fishing nets? Do you have this problem in here as well?
Yes, like you need to say upscale, utilization of scaling of marine, I mean, fishing nets.
Yes, fishing nets, right.
Yes, the interface.
Certainly, I think I would request Harry to please comment on it and then.
No. Just I heard about this, but I'm not involved in those projects. In Hong Kong, it's not a very The ones I mentioned in the slides are about the marines, the coral, the woods, things like. I just have an exhibition about climate change last week, so I bring out those examples. The thing is that I'm really amazed that there are so many circular economy examples in the climate change exhibition. So my point is that I think it's really mixing up those topics like sustainability, climate change, and circular economy started to mix up so that they will consider a big project. So like fishing net, I think fishing net is a very good project. So they have social factors in those because they let the fishermen to involve in this project and earn some money. And I'm always impressed that this kind of projects that have social factors rather than just economical and environmental. Social is very hard to quantify. Are they happy? Are they have enough jobs? Marginalized people get the jobs. Those things I hope people can concentrate. This is my point.
Thank you very much.
Just to add, there's a company called Interface. Interface is one of the first companies in the world to go completely on recycle-based outsourcing and also use of fish nets for producing carpets for flooring globally, and they have a presence in India.
I would like to add the fact that the plastic what we are working for, that can go with a very good strength, even as like a polypropylene, and the net can be even, we could able to make the fishing nets also, and that will be a degradable. Only concern is that sometimes fish may like it. Okay, because this is the material which really fish, and we are doing the test and the fishes are really liking it, and going into the metabolic system, and it's really going back. I mean to say it's a very safe material, but certainly I think you have given a point today to utilize one of the used. Because mostly I can understand if the net is there, it might gone into the broke down and it goes into the sea, and that will be really creating the problem. So there are possible solutions we can explore. Madam.
Thank you very much. For the last question, yeah, so I was part of UNIA 5.2, where the declaration was made, 175 countries are together signing a pact that no more single-use plastic. Now, what does that mean in terms of demand for bioplastic, biodegradable plastic, or the other alternatives? And how are we going to, scale up and meet the requirement of that scale? Because people can't think, common man cannot think about life without plastic. So, how are we going to scale up and meet that?
What to say, ma'am? I mean to say, I'm also speechless. The fact that you have already talked about the scale, and the reality is that when we talk about this class of plastic, it might not be even 0.001% of the requirement we are producing so far globally. In fact, if we take it only synthetic biodegradable plastic, that is going to be like this. And frankly speaking, if you would like to come up with a solution, then massive infrastructure has to be built in order to bring such a plastic. But I mean to say, we can always prioritize given for a certain segments. Like in India also, we have already 14 products we have already blocked, we banned, that is considered as single-use plastic. But frankly speaking, what is my thought process? Even though you take a single segment, suppose you take the simple tray which is going to be used for IRCTC, that required around 5,000 to 10,000 metric ton resin to replace it. It's just only a one small niche segment. A lot need to be done on these. But only thing is that but there are limitations with the natural material, natural polymer, but we are trying to work that instead of producing the synthetic plastic, can we utilize the natural plastic without compromise with the structural property relationship of the existing plastic. Certain areas are there, a lot need to be done, a lot of infrastructure and boost is to be required. Banning might not be an option, because what happened, you have to change the lifestyle of the people. That is always looks in the good inside the hall. Outside, people, I mean, consumer doesn't care. They don't care, frankly speaking, I'm sorry to say, they don't care. They just want to serve the purpose.
Sir, it is so close, 2024.
Yes.
That's going to be the last year for 175 countries.
But madam, the same time, I would like to mention you here that we in India, we have come up with a report. We have done all this and submitted to our chairman, Dr. Saraswat has submitted to the PM office. And I would like to tell you, we have come up with a very comprehensive report and comprehensive deliberations by which we would like to reduce the consumption of the conventional plastic and giving a boost to the alternate plastics, the degradable plastics. We have made a provisions also, and we have made a recommendations also. We all, I mean to say, that is, we are working on it. And certainly, I mean to say, our government is taking all possible measures in order to bring it down the conventional plastics, which is harmful. But still, as you mentioned, it takes time. But in many cases, like when we talk about the Solar Energy Alliance, what India has made, and if really going to the performance of our government, even we are ahead than the schedule. So that way we are prospering, and we are very much into the managing the targets, and here also we are very hopeful that we will reach to the target. Thank you very much.
Just one thing to add. I think plastic is not necessary to be replaced with plastic. It can be replaced by other materials as well. So,
yeah, absolutely right. Earlier we were always practicing these glass bottles or some metal bottles, but the only thing is that again the economic comes into the picture. Transporting the glass bottles and transporting a plastic bottles now again, so it's a kind of a trade-off.
Sir,
Yeah,
can I tell you about first-hand experience that I've gone through last year in Stockholm here?
please.
Single-use plastic were banned 3 years back. All our supermarkets got paper bags. Initially, we were not using. Thereafter, everybody is using paper bags. India had a lot of tongas, which were recycling of the newspapers. That industry has practically vanished.
Yes, even sir, here
Then
also in
you had
India.
jute, sir. Then you had jute, you had coir. The bags we used to take when I was a kid to the market. That can come back.
Absolutely right, sir. In fact, we are working on those lines, I mean to say, and especially we have also banned the single-use plastic carry bags all. But only thing is that we allowed more than 100 micron thickness bags so far because it may not be may add on to the littering. Though once we have the solution, certainly we would like to go completely ban on this. But still a lot has been done.
No, I'm just back from home. That's why I was, comparing.
So, welcome you, sir. Please come in India and then we'll have a great discussion on this in person. Thank you.
No, when I said I'm just back from home, I just came back from India about a month back.
Oh, I missed that opportunity. Okay. So, thank you very much. So, I take this opportunity to thanks all the speakers and thanks to the audience, though it's very low, but see, you fulfill the requirement of the audience. Your question is really touched us, and it is difficult for us to answer. And certainly, I think we have to make the consumer also responsive towards the sustainability. And that is what the take-home message we are, as the speakers, we are taking from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Yes. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ali. Thank you, Dr. Ali.
Thank you.
Okay. Professor Jaideep, if are you there?
No, sir. These are
Mr. Harry, please be there. We would like to go for a group photograph. But this way will not be effective. That way will be effective.
Do for us at least.